they often have a suite of sounds. Now, you still have to follow all regulations that have to do with safety and that kind of thing. But now the sound inside the car can be reflected in the marketing communications around it. So that's a very big use of sound.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jody Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. This is part 2 of my interview with Colleen Fahey. I was going to ask you, which examples of the most innovative use of sound were maybe that your company has done?
We have done sounds to communicate innovation, but our goal is not to be innovative in our use of sound. Our goal is to be, to help people tell their story by using sound. So, but there's, for instance, for Huggies, the idea was that it was the bond between mother and child. But children at one point are very young, little like creatures, and then they become these rollicking toddlers. So for the sonic DNA within the music, we had interactions between mother and children, like going up to da da da, where child can actually make consonants, which is a hard thing to learn. And so the child's voice changed and matured throughout the journey of the audio DNA. And the child grew up and the music got more active, and it ends with the mother and child back and forth to each other. It's a very heartwarming piece of music. I don't know if you'd call it innovative, but
sure.
Boy.
I would definitely call that innovative. Yeah. I mean, evoking that emotion with sound is definitely innovative.
Right.
And showing the progression of where that product will be used is also innovative. So,
and then for USAA, one of the things that we discovered in the meeting, especially in the mood board session, was people have good feelings about the military service, but not all good. But when we played sounds that sounded like da 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 da, those call and response sounds.
Yeah.
The room just brightened. It was just exploded with all kinds of happy memories that people had. They remembered cleaning the barracks, but one would start with a phrase and then everybody would answer, and then different people would start doing phrases, and it felt so together, and that really influenced us in coming up with a sonic logo for USAA. And you'll hear that US and then AA comes from a group. So USA is one.
So it's the call and the callback. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are not professional singers. Those are just people, because one of the instructions that we got from the creative director was get more mud on those uniforms.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah. I love it. Okay. So more real and less polished.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I love it. That's so fantastic. There are so many considerations that go into this. It's really a fascinating process.
It is. It is. Sometimes you hear about people making sonic logos by snapping the chip or opening the bottle. And that can be part of the sonic universe, like Coca-Cola does so well. They have a particular sound of opening the cap. But that's not their sonic logo. Their sonic logo is actually a melodic piece, because they really want people to be able to actually sing it. So, sometimes that's not what we're about anyway. That's clever and fun, and great to do a speech about. But we're really thinking about the brand. How can we build that brand? How can we make it more competitive?
Yeah.
And how can we make something that's really going to last?
That's the point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Making it last, or at least making it
It stand out.
updatable.
Mm-hmm.
Some because these things they aren't static really. They should be dynamic. They should be changing as the company changes, as time changes, as people change.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ones that we were very proud to have worked on was State Farm, where we helped them change their sound to this fresh, bright, um, and also kind of breakthrough sound, um, where it starts with like a good, not the music, not the words, but
Hmm.
do 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 do, because we figured, and
Yeah.
it's true, that people would be able to fill in the rest in their own minds. So, and also that's the most emotional part of the brand, the neighbor part.
I'm curious why you think a sound for a brand is an important thing to have. Because I know that not every company out there has a sound brand, and they don't, I think a lot of them don't realize how impactful it could be. But where is that impact coming from? Like it's a combo of a bunch of different things, right?
Yes, there's many things that it can do. I mean, having a sonic brand, of course, people have pretty much accepted that multi-sensory marketing is important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, people know that brand consistency creates trust. So having a cohesion in your sound idea, like you do in your colors, your typeface, your logo,
Sure.
your package shapes, having a sound component to that will help create trust. But there's so much more. You can use sound to draw attention. You can measure what people take from the logo when they play it silently and they play it with your sound. Suddenly has it added different dimensions to the logo, to have a sonic logo with it. Um, there's recognition, awareness, all the basic category recognition, that kind of thing. All the basic brand measures are, it's very easy to track those. And then you can also measure, how does it help you stand out? Does it make you more distinctive? Do people feel that this fits the kind of brand you are and distinguishes you from other brands?
That's a really good point. Yeah. I think partially a lot of people will attribute you standing out not to having the audio brand, but just to being a better brand. And they won't realize how much of an influence the audio brand was on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. But, it really can help you segment the market. If, say, you have a competitor who's really in that, let's say they're a soft drink or something. One of them is trying to say it gives you energy, it gives you strength, but the other is trying to say it'll make you feel like partying. That's going to be two different pieces of music.
Yeah.
And so if you're the one that really feels like partying, you know exactly where to go, and it'll make you clearer as a brand in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Because it goes with your visual
Yeah.
branding. Yeah.
Or if you're saying, no, we're pure, we don't have any additives, we're really the most quenching and refreshing, then you'll probably have some music that's simple, doesn't have a lot of um, builds and layers and that kind of thing. So it really helps your brand tell the world who it is. Again,
Mm-hmm.
not in a big, braggy, loud way.
Yeah.
It's just sort of seeps in.
Mm-hmm. Very subtle. Yeah. I really admire all of the people that work in this area because it's so nuanced, which I love that. And we are nuanced human beings. So, being reached to through branding that doesn't treat us like we're stupid is
Yeah,
really nice.
yeah.
And I wanted to, along those lines, sort of ask you what audio brand, sonic brand that you've worked on have you really enjoyed? What do you have like a favorite, or is that like choosing your favorite child?
I really honestly do not have a favorite. I prefer brands that the clients are intentional about supporting.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just found out that one of our pharma brands is the top brand, Sonic Logos, is the top brand in healthcare and pharma. 100%.
Wow.
And I can't say its name because of the contract we're under.
Okay.
But that is a very well-managed sonic brand, as well as being a good sonic brand that conveys this feeling of liberation. So that's one that I'm very happy with and can't say the name
can't
of.
talk about, yeah. Yeah.
Hard person to interview, aren't I?
That's okay. We'll get somewhere. Yeah. But speaking of that then, because you mentioned something when you answered that, what do you consider a well-managed brand, a well-managed sonic brand?
It has to be understood very well within the company.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are in digital marketing and social media have to understand it, as well as the people who are in advertising. And then that they shouldn't be picking out random pieces of stock music to put on that TikTok video or whatever. Really, they should be going into a fund, and each time they use something or make something, adding to the fund of music that is the brand's music, because that will help the brand overall. And
definitely.
So one of the things is making sure your whole company understands what's going on and why. And then you have to keep infusing sort of their attachment to it by telling them this is working, this is getting higher responses, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you have to be consistent in your use of it in the external world too.
Sure.
So, but it doesn't always have to be big fat advertising budgets. It can be in your app, it can be in your hold music, it could be in your TikTok videos, your Instagram posts, your video, your brand video on your website. This isn't just for big fancy brands with lots of advertising money.
I know that we're all dealing with a lot of stuff these days, so I particularly wanted to acknowledge those that have taken the time to leave honest reviews of this podcast. Thrive After 55 writes, "This is a gem of a podcast. Jody is not only an accomplished talent in voiceover and singing, but can now add gracious and welcoming podcast host. Her style of interviewing truly allows room for her guests to shine with interesting and intriguing information. This is a great add to your podcast listening. Thank you, Thrive, for your very kind review." And now back to the show. What do people with smaller budgets and smaller companies do with this kind of thing? I think it's still useful for them, but how can they do it without the huge budgets that, say,
we work
a
for
train station has?
We work for a very B2B industrial company, for instance. They were going through a period where they were merging with some other companies, and they felt that they needed to get their videos, all of which were different, at least they have some consistency. So we created a brand for them and a library of certain music. This one's a little more technical. This one's a little bit more teamworky, all based on the same DNA as always. And they use it for teaching how to clean this machine, how to assemble these parts. We have a new announcement to make. They do a lot of video for teaching, training, integrating new products that from other people they're buying. And they use it very well, very professionally. And it's called Cadent, by the way, which is not going to be a household word. But they're extremely disciplined about using their audio brand, and it's a beautiful one.
That's great. Yeah. I love that anyone can use one.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you put it.
Yeah. You could even make a case that B2B might need it more than B2C because they have very little money. So why not make your money work well together? Make as many impressions as you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're licensing a piece of license-free music from a directory, you're paying that every time you license something, right? So why not just pay out something to make a piece of music that's yours and that your competitor can't use?
Right. You own it.
Because they could if it's in the license-free music directory.
Right. Oh, definitely. We hear competitors using the same track all the time. Mm-hmm. But you bring up a very good point. One of the things that if you have your own sonic brand made, at least by CCM Song, you have the rights. This is how we do it. The rights to every touch point. So whether it's for a robot that you're designing the sound for, or we have a mobile robotic trash can.
How cool is that? Talking about an appliance.
Yeah, that's right. That is an appliance.
That's an appliance.
It's for the train stations, but it uses it uses the sounds that come from the audio DNA.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So for every kind of touch point that you might need it for, you have the rights to, and you have rights to things that haven't been invented yet. So you just pay a yearly licensing fee, or you just pay it all in one chunk, and then it's yours. Nobody has to pay. If they use it a lot, you still pay the same amount as if they use it twice. I'd rather they use it a lot myself.
I think that probably makes better use of it. Yes. I don't know why you'd get something like this done and not use it.
People change in companies. Sometimes they think that the last person's ideas were not maybe terrific.
Yeah, that does happen. In that case, though, I would hope that someone takes what they may not like about the previous Sonic brand and updates it, as opposed to just trashing it.
That's a very good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to use every element,
Right.
but if you just have similar elements and then update it in the way that you feel better represents the company, then sure.
I would say that's a best practice, Jody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you very
it. I mean,
much.
why waste all the money that you've spent on this, right? I
Right.
mean, yeah, and the work, because lots of people have worked on it. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense to just let it die. Where do you see this going in the future? Where do you see audio branding showing up? I mean, there's all sorts of things that we haven't yet experienced or seen on the market. And I'm sure that there's all sorts of things in the works as to the future of audio.
Huge is audio branding inside cars.
Ah, yes. Okay.
There's so much sound design going with the electrification of cars, the fact that they're autonomous. Some of them are autonomous. And
they don't make the same sounds anymore either.
Yeah, they often have a suite of sounds. Now, you still have to follow all regulations that have to do with safety and that kind of thing. But now the sound inside the car can be reflected in the marketing communications around it. So that's a very big use of sound. Then appliance companies are getting smarter and smarter about their appliance sounds themselves, and technology companies about the sounds that their devices make. Telephone companies or mobile companies were the first to the party because they actually made sound. So they made their own sounds, like do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, whatever.
Yeah, I know that sound.
Yeah. There's an early one. Our founder calls it talkative. It's a talkative sound. So I think you're going to hear more good sound design inside products.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of a company that makes air conditioners, speaking of appliances, that they do their segmentation just with trim and sound. So the basic, cheapest version of this air conditioner has a snarky, smart-ass voice and, basic trim. Then there's the family version, which is a little more expensive, and it's very warm, family-friendly. And then at the next level, they have a British accent. And that is for the premium product. And almost the only thing that distinguishes the products are the voices, which we haven't really talked about voice as part of your sound identity, which also is part of what we do, is help companies choose voices that will be authentic to them, that will help them stand out. In Canada, for instance, because that's where you are, you might have noticed that almost every financial institution uses the same male voice, so semi-professional, very authoritative, somewhat approachable, and maybe there's an opportunity for people like you to penetrate that.
I have done some a bit of work for our RBC for their wealth management,
Mm-hmm.
actually. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Bank of Nova Scotia actually has a female voice on it now, on
Oh,
all their advertising.
very good.
So yeah, so we're getting there.
Okay. Oh, two is good.
There have been inroads made. I don't know that it's like a big thing yet, but I think it should be.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying it for being even diverse, just for being different, differentiating,
Yeah,
standing out as a brand.
sure.
You can really stand out with your ears.
Yeah.
And sound effects are part of that too. If you have your
And
own particular, pardon?
diverse
And
voices,
diverse
like
voices, very
hearing
important.
voices that aren't just white. Exactly.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
that's, yeah.
yes. And I know you know about Steve Keller's work,
Yes.
and I think he's working with Dr. Charles Spence at the University of Oxford too. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
on diversity, but yeah, it's looking good for diversity in voices as far as the research goes anyway.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm raising all boats for sound,
Hmm.
for partially because I'm a voice actor, and because when people use more voices, that's good for me and all of my colleagues.
Right.
But yeah, I like to think that voices do make a difference in this branding landscape.
They definitely do.
Yeah. I'm curious actually if there are particular voices that you're liking for brands. Are there brands that when you hear the voice that you immediately perk up? It might be a bit of
Yeah,
a
it's
out of the box question there, but yeah.
some brands have used voices forever, and those have stuck in my mind.
Hmm.
Of course, it's the Tom Baudet for Motel 6. It's just a wonderful use of voice. But also the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs was done by
Hmm.
a very particular voice. And not to mention Tony the Tiger.
Yes.
So people have been using voices with strong characteristics, but not everybody and not enough.
Hmm.
Often they just want the voice to sit back instead of having the voice be somebody that you could picture in your mind.
Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast. I can't even remember where I saw this research, but there was an article that was published, I believe, last year that mentioned that when a company actually says its whole name in its Sonic logo, that it's more memorable. And it would seem to me that if you're using a voice to say that inside your Sonic logo, that would make it more memorable.
Say it or sing it. Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, some companies don't want to do that. They feel it's too intrusive.
Oh, okay.
They feel that they'd rather just see the tune. And when you hear State Farm, for instance, now it's just the tune, and then a spoken voice actually says the tagline. But it depends on the brand. I wouldn't say everybody just go out and do that, sing your voice, your name. Sparkling Ice is one of our clients, and they definitely needed to sing their name because the way their logo is structured, it says sparkling this big, and then it says ice, huge.
Okay.
And so the customers were calling it ice. They actually thought the name of the product was ice.
Ah,
And
okay.
so there we did sing the name. It was sparkling ice. So you almost were on the same note at the ing and the I. So it was completely attached. You couldn't sing them apart to help the market understand that the name of the product was sparkling ice. And USAA, of course, we use the name for the call and response.
Yes, sure.
But many companies would say, that's not me. I'd rather just offer the little tune. People will eventually remember it.
Well, that makes sense. I'm not suggesting that it would be for everybody, but yeah, it's an interesting aspect of the studies, I guess, that I found fascinating.
Like we did a logo for Renault. Renault. I'm not sure how that's pronounced in every country, but everybody was using metallic sounds and sounds of motors and engines and essentially functionally relevant sounds, but not emotionally relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And the company was trying to capture the idea of a passion for life that the driving experience gave them. And we used sort of the sound of a sigh within the logo. And the logo took top place for every kind of measure immediately.
I love it.
In branding in Europe.
And that's much more useful as far as the future is concerned too, because like not all cars are made of the same materials these days now, right?
Right.
So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And not every if you have an international brand, let's say you're Baby Bell. You'd be Bobby Bell in one country and Baby Bell in another country. And so you could say the name and give people options so you get the right name for their country, or you do something that's fully musical and everybody can use the same. In the case of Baby Bell, we gave them different ways to sing the name, as well as one that was fully musical. It's a big company and they're all over the world.
That's really interesting.
Even though they call themselves babies.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I guess different uses in different countries need different sounds.
Yeah, but as you can imagine, many global companies opt to have a fully musical sound because music is a universal language.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So what are you working on right now? So much stuff.
Wow.
Anything you could talk about.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Can I talk
You can be
about
very general.
Okay.
You don't have to be very specific.
Okay. A lot of financial institutions. Oh my gosh. And financial institutions are already the best category at sonic branding. Insurance companies have been doing jingles, but it's turned into good sonic branding. Lots of financial services. Some pharmaceutical, for sure. Some software. A lot of software going on right now. And then a sweet and not particularly healthy snack.
Okay. Well, that's okay too. We all need our treats. So you're very busy, in other words.
No, do not say that. We're always not busy enough if you're running a company.
Okay, point taken. Yes, you can always do more. Yes. But that is good. So let's say in demand.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Okay. So how can people reach out to you if they want to ask you any questions or reach out to Cesium Sol?
Well, I would say LinkedIn is always the easiest and best. My name is Colleen Fahey, Colleen, Fahey, F as in France, Ahey. There is the Cesium Son site, and if you look into the word Cesium Son, you'll see it starts with a 6 because it really means sixth sound, which is a lovely pun in French because it's also very close to sixth sense. So altogether, it's a sixth sense about sound.
Okay, I like that.
But if you want to go to the website, you can either find it via my LinkedIn or type in 6 sonic branding and see what happens.
Yeah. And we're about to get 12 dings on your on your clock there.
Oh my gosh, it's noon.
Yes.
This is a long version of my sonic brand. And that is one thing we do. Sometimes when we do a sonic logo, we do a longer version and a very short snippet, maybe to start it or to interrupt inside the commercial or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that like I was saying, that clock sound is definitely a childhood memory for me. My mom had like really interesting clocks all over our house.
Really? More than one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, she had quite a few actually. And like really like mahogany made, like just like really beautiful looking that
Wow.
she bought specifically because both actually, because they look really cool, but they sounded really nice too. My mother's a singer, so she
Oh.
was really, yeah, so she
Oh.
was really musical. My dad plays guitar, so and piano, so like we're a musical
So
family
your clocks
and
had to
they
be
loved that.
musical too.
The clocks had to be musical, yes. But nice memories. Yeah. But thank you so much for being here with me today, Colleen. This was fantastic and I learned a ton.
Oh, great.
And I am really looking forward to sharing this with everyone else.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you, Humberto.
Thanks so much. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.